you introduce yourself, like your name and the channel or TV show in your case that you're on?
Yeah. My name is Forrest Galante. I'm a wildlife biologist by trade, and my channel is Discovery Channel.
You do the show Extinct or Alive. Is there anything other shows that you're currently working on, or?
I own a production company called Fantasticus Pictures, named after the tortoise that we discovered in the Galapagos. And my production company makes a whole lot of different television shows, and we're the only production company, as far as I know, that actively finances conservation work in exchange for filming rights and access. So that's a long-winded way of saying I have done Extinct or Alive for 2 seasons. I did a show called Mysterious Creatures, which was combating human-wildlife conflict, looking for non-lethal mitigation methods. And I've done, oh my goodness, 6 Shark Week shows now. And then that's just with me on camera. And then my company has a whole lot of different productions where I'm behind the camera and actually producing wildlife content.
You mentioned finding the Galapagos tortoise. That was a huge thing. Could you share the journey in that?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, you gotta watch the Extinct or Alive episode, because there's nothing I can say in words that can articulate what it was like. I mean, even now I'm getting goosebumps just thinking back to that moment. Chelonoidea fantasticus, the Fernandina Island tortoise, was presumed extinct basically since the time of Charles Darwin, 113 years since the California Academy of Sciences had last collected a specimen. And so the idea was this tortoise is gone, like Lonesome George and the Pinta Island tortoise, this animal is gone. Well, I spoke to a mutual friend of ours at the Turtle Conservancy, and he put me in touch with a scientist who'd been there and found droppings and bite marks, and I spoke to some scientists in the Galapagos, and they all confirmed that there was trace evidence that there could still be a population of tortoise on the island. So in 2019, my team and I partnered with the Galapagos Conservancy and sent an expedition led by myself to Fernandina Island. It is a moonscape. I mean, it is harsh lava rock that breaks like glass and boiling hot. It's like being out here in the Florida sun with no shade, no trees, and I mean, it is just a hellish landscape. And so when we got there and sort of saw what this landscape was like, my hope for the ongoing existence of the species diminished quite a lot. But sure enough, after only 3 days, we found hiding in first we found scat, and I knew there was a tortoise around because it was fresh. Then we found a bed site that was like a day old, so really fresh. And then just moments later, under a bush, myself and the 2 of the Galapagos Rangers found fern, Chelonoidea fantasticus, and it was a big moment to actually hold an extinct animal in my hands, the rarest animal in the world. To this day, there's only one individual of that species known, this one that I picked up on the Galapagos Islands. So yeah, it was an amazing moment.
You've kind of made your profession out of that now, of being able to track down extinct, so to say, animals using wilderness skills, would you say?
I grew up in Zimbabwe, in southern Africa, son of a safari business owner, and so I learned to track animals from a very young age. And then I coupled that with scientific understanding and knowledge. I went to UC Santa Barbara, which I absolutely adore. And on top of that, I picked up and developed a substantial list of survival skills. And so when you marry in those 3 things, the tracking, the survival skills, the education, and then we've got this sort of MacGyver-ish thing going on with our team where we repurpose a lot of military technology, fishing and hunting technology, it's enabled us to be very successful in a field that when we started, we were like the tinfoil hat guys. You know, they were like, oh, you're gonna go find extinct animals, you lunatics. And the truth is that, you know, I also sort of felt that way in the beginning and thought, well, it doesn't matter because it's about the journey and not the destination. We'll bring awareness about conservation and these species that are disappearing, and if we ever find one, that would be amazing. Here we are 8 lost species later that we've uncovered, and while I'm not still doing Extinct or Alive, I am still working on lost species and doing many other shows and productions that are sort of a larger scale of conservation over the initial Extinct or Alive concept.
You've worked with a lot of animals in a lot of places. Do you have a favorite animal that you like to work with?
I love working with giant anacondas in the wild. In last year, 2020 now, maybe 21, I don't even know, it's all like a blur. But last year-ish, I went to Bonito, Brazil, which is where they have the clear water and the giant anacondas, and we caught a couple really big females and weighed them and measured them and put tags in them and stuff. And getting to scuba dive with a wild 20-foot-long snake that's never seen a person before, ever, in crystal clear water in its natural environment, with pirapotunga swimming around and piranhas in the bushes and caiman on the banks, and that is an incredible experience. So that's really high up there for me. We also moved some elephants last year, and that was, I've ridden elephants growing up, and I don't encourage people to do that, but I've been around elephants. But I'd never been around them in that capacity before, where we were darting them from the helicopters and loading them onto flatbed trucks and moving them and saving these elephants. Some of them had bullet wounds in them, others had poacher snares. One had her trunk ripped open from a poacher snare. And we saved this whole family group of elephants. And that was like standing there touching these elephants as they were sleeping, knowing that like we've taken the largest living land animal on earth and saved its life. That was pretty moving. So it's hard for me to narrow it in. I could keep going all day, but no, I don't think I really have a favorite. I think there's a lot. Love big snakes, love crocodilians, love elephants and big mammals. The list goes on and on.
Did you have to learn the kind of charismatic side for being on TV?
Definitely. I definitely had to learn how to present to a camera, how to speak on television. Whether I learned how to be charismatic or not, I'm not sure. I think I'm still working on that. But I mean, I think back to the days of like our first ever production, like the pilot we did for Extinct or Alive, and I'd be like running through the jungle and I'd talk like this and I'd be like, right over there, and they'd be like, we don't know what you're saying, or like your back's to the camera. So now, after many years of being a presenter, I realize like if I run after something, I have to sort of turn back and address the camera or the cameraman and then get back to it. So it's taken a little while to sort of narrow in on that, but I think one of the reasons that my shows that I'm on are so successful is I'm so focused. Yes, I have to be a presenter and I have to talk to the camera and all of that, but I'm so focused on whatever it is I'm doing. I'm so singularly passionate about that subject that I think the viewer gets to come along for that ride and be like, man, this guy is a nut, but he's a nut who's obsessed with that thing. So even if I say a swear word or don't turn my head back to address the camera or get annoyed at my camera guys because they're like, do that again, and I'm like, no, and I keep running. I think that the viewers can at least appreciate the amount of passion that's going into that, and so it makes it fun for them to be along. And it's not your standard like, I'm a TV presenter, like I don't stop in the middle of something to talk to the camera. Like I'm go.
Lastly, do you have any closing thoughts or anything else you wanted to share?
Look, I think if you're watching this video, you already care about animals, you already care about conservation. So bring a friend along, right? Try and bring other people into it. I can tell you, I'm very pro-zoo. Okay, I've always been pro-zoo. I talk about it on my podcast, I talk about it on my shows, because I know if you didn't grow up in the bush of Zimbabwe like I did, then if you want to fall in love with animals, all it takes is a visit to the zoo or a visit to a reptile center or whatever it is. Get to hold the gator or play with the painted turtle or go to the zoo and see the animals. And I think that, if you're somebody, like I said, if you're somebody who's watching this, you already feel this way, obviously, or you wouldn't be watching this video. So take a friend, go to the zoo with them, take them to the local reptile house, whatever it is, and help spread this very important message of conservation. I think being a keeper and being a wildlife nut, like the people that are watching this channel, are the foundation of that. So thank you.